What is up, guys? And we are back with another video, and this is going to be the last video for my Elemental Mastery Changes series. We basically covered every single thing from the Elemental Mastery changes that happened in 1.6, from the swirl damage to the electro charge to the shatter damage, and now finally we are going to be covering Crystallize. And since the Crystallize testing won't take as long because we already made a Crystallize video before 1.6, so we don't have to do extra testing, I'm also going to be talking about the overall Elemental Mastery changes and giving my opinions on it, on each and every single thing. And then I'm going to open up the floor for you guys in the comments if you guys have any questions about the changes or just what you feel about them in general. Let's go ahead and start off with the Crystallize portion of this video, starting now. And as you guys can see, my GeoMC is rocking the same exact Elemental Mastery stat from when we recorded our last Crystallize video at 551. So when it comes to Crystallize, miHoYo did a pretty bad job in explaining what exactly changed, because as you guys can see, the 125.4% is exactly the same. And when you look at the patch note changes where it said that there's going to be Elemental Mastery changes, all it says is refer to the in-game stat page for more details. And when we look at this, it looks like Crystallize didn't change at all. It's still 125.4%. So this is not what they changed. What they actually changed is the base HP of your shield. Because if you guys don't know, when you pick up a Crystallized shield, there's two things that go into it. Your character's level, which determines the base HP of the shield, and then your Elemental Mastery, which determines the bonus HP of your shield. So those two things make up your entire shield, and they change that bonus HP you're getting from your Elemental Mastery. So I did a lot of digging on my end. I couldn't find the exact numbers for you guys, at least from miHoYo themselves. So we're going to go ahead and test it in this video and see how much it actually changed, if it even changed at all. Okay, so when we compare what we just did to our last video before the 1.6 buff, with the same exact artifact sets, you guys can tell that my GeoMC only absorbed around 2 shots. Basically not even 2, around 1.9, because you guys can see right here there is 568 damage remaining. So we can actually break this down further, because without the shield, each child arrow hits for around 3758. So if we quickly do some math, that means before the 1.6 Elemental Mastery buff, with 551 Elemental Mastery, we could absorb 6,948 damage with Crystallize. And you guys saw that after the Elemental Mastery buff, we were able to easily absorb 2 arrows and a bit more, and in total we absorbed 8,817 damage. So if we compare that 8,817 to that 6,980 that we had before the Elemental Mastery buff, we can tell that it was around a 20% increase in the amount of damage we can absorb. Honestly guys, a 20% increase in Crystallize is not that bad at all, especially because how often you can get Crystallize to drop on the field. But also one thing you have to keep in mind is my GeoMC in this scenario had a 2-piece Wanderer set, so I was getting 80 Elemental Mastery, and I had 2 pieces of Elemental Mastery. So when you're running most Geo teams, you're not going to be running an Elemental Mastery Geo character. That's probably just not going to happen. So your Crystallize obviously is not going to be that good. If anything, you're probably not running any Elemental Mastery pieces. You're probably running like attack percent, Geo, and then crit rate, crit damage, or defense percent if you have Albedo. So obviously your Elemental Mastery is not going to be that high. So overall, it's not going to matter as much. And honestly, going Elemental Mastery on purpose for a Geo character is going to be a very niche situation for most people, because it's only really going to apply when you don't have Zhongli, or you don't have any other shield character for that matter, and on top of that you have a Geo character that you want to use. Really the only good candidates in this scenario is really just going to be Albedo, because his burst also provides Elemental Mastery and he can do Crystallize pretty often. Overall, I think it's a good change for Crystallize, but overall Crystallize as a reaction is just not that good, especially because you're only going to get good benefit out of it if you go Elemental Mastery. This is really going to be good if we get a Geo character that scales off of Elemental Mastery, because if a character like that ever comes out, it's going to be a win-win for everyone. You can purposely go Elemental Mastery without losing on too much because they scale with Elemental Mastery, and you're going to be getting consistent Crystallize. Okay, so now that we've covered Crystallize, we've covered every single Elemental Mastery buff, and let's go ahead and talk about an overall conclusion for everything and just my opinions on it overall. So honestly guys, when miHoYo first announced all the Elemental Mastery changes, my initial thought, along with a lot of other people, was that Electro is going to be really strong because of all these changes. Because a lot of people were complaining about Electro and everyone just thought it's going to be really beneficial for Electro. But once the changes came out, we realized they were more tailored towards Kazuha and Anemo. and Electro really fell off. So if I were to rank all these changes and tell you guys which one I like the most, in my opinion, my favorite change would probably go to Anemo. I think hands down. I think not a lot of people can argue that. And I think after Anemo, I would actually give it to Shatter Damage. Because Shatter Damage doesn't suffer the same thing as Electro. Because Electro can be really inconsistent because of how fast Electro gets applied. And there's really no consistent way to trigger the Electro Charge reaction you want. Whereas Shatter Damage, on the other hand, as long as you're the Claymore character and you're built Elemental Mastery, like we did with my Chongyun video, you can easily trigger Shatter. And honestly, I put the Crystallize and Electro related changes in the same exact spot because they suffer from the same thing. And like I said, it's just consistency. And this doesn't mean that they're not going to change Electro in the future. I understand why they don't want to change it too much because as you guys know, all the Electro characters are very, very strong by themselves. They're not good because they're Electro, they're good because they just have good kits and they're overall just good characters, such as Fischl, Beidou, Razor. They're overall just really, really good characters, even Keqing to some extent. But the only problem is Electro's actually holding them back because if they were any other element, they would be significantly better. So they don't want to change it too much where these Electro characters that are already really, really good get broken. So I understand why they don't make any Electro related changes. But at the same time, I do wish that they do something. In terms of the Elemental Mastery changes overall, like I said, in my opinion, I think the best change was hands down for Anemo. And then after that, I would give it to Shatter Damage. I know Shatter Damage is not a meta thing, but I think overall, because of just how consistent it can be and how like passive the damage is, it is pretty decent. And again, Crystallize was a good 20% increase, and the Electro-related reactions got a good damage increase. Really, the only problem for both of them is the consistency, because with Crystallize, you really need to go full Elemental Mastery to really utilize it, because just depending on Crystallize from your Elemental Mastery substats instead of main stats is not going to be really a big difference compared to pre and post buff. The only reason the difference looked big when we were testing it is because we had two main stat Elemental Mastery pieces. You wouldn't really see that big difference when you're just playing a regular Geo character. I'm still glad that they made the changes because they were still good changes and it's a step in the right direction, and I think they can keep going in the right direction. So let me know what you guys think about the changes overall. Do you guys agree with them? Do you guys think they weren't enough? Do you guys think that Electro still needs some love? I know I feel that way. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about Crystallize as well as all the other elements. And let me know what other changes you guys want to see. Maybe MiHoYo will listen to some feedback because we were saying that we want some changes and they made some. So maybe they can do something else. Let me know what you guys want to see. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.